Now, it's always an occasion when there's a new Ferrari launch, and this year has been quite crazy. It's been 5 cars in 2019, 2 convertibles of current models and 3 brand new cars, including this one, the brand new front engine Ferrari Roma. Now, of course, it's named after the city of Rome. It's exactly where we are in right now. And it's a coupe, a 2+2 coupe. So it goes back to sort of the original hark-back history of what Ferrari used to do back in the 60s, the front engine 2+2 seater configuration, a typically Ferrari design. And let's talk about design first, because that's been the most polarizing of the lot. Now, a lot of people on the internet have said that this does look like, say, a DB9 or a Vantage from the Aston Martin lineup, but I think, although on first glance it might, especially in pictures, in real life the stance is a whole lot different. It looks actually a lot like the Ferrari Monza from up front. You have a lot of details, and if you can come closer, it actually has a lot of hark back to Ferrari history. So the front grille, which is body colored in this car, and it's quite a cool sort of little reference piece. Instead of being carbon fiber or black painted, it's body colored, and these little squares remind me of Ferraris from the 60s and the 70s, because they had these little plastic structures up front. Of course, this car also has the carbon fiber splitter, very similar to the likes of the Monza. But in terms of overall design, this actually, a Ferrari references this to the 250 Lusso, the 250 GT 2+2, but I think this sort of haunch on the wheel arch and this sort of bulge bonnet looks a lot like the Ferrari 365 GT-C4, not the GTB, the famous Daytona, but the later one, the GT-C4, which is also a front engine, although that was a V12. This is a V8. Now, in terms of just general overall design, as I mentioned, front engine, rear wheel drive layout, big long bonnet, lovely, very, very muscular wheel arches up front, very muscular bonnet, and this lovely roof line. Now, a lot of people have also said that the car does remind people of the F-Type. The haunches here, nice and muscular, maybe a little bit, but I think overall it is a very, very pretty car, especially in this pearl white color, which has been very, very popular with Ferraris in recent years. There's also lovely silver and a grey back there. But I think in general, this is one of the prettiest cars Ferrari has launched this year, and that, considering the fact that they've launched so many cars this year, is quite the statement to make. So let's have a look at the back. Now, the first thing that really strikes you is how clean it is. There is no unnecessary aero, no massive wings, no ducktail spoilers, no huge diffusers at the bottom. It is a clean GT car, and that's what Ferrari used to do best, and I think this is the epitome of what that is. Of course, you've got the quad tail lamps here. This sort of the back reminds me of the 456. Now, the 456 again from the 90s wasn't a very loved car, but it is, in my opinion, a very pretty car. This section reminds me of that, just like the Porto, or just like the California, the original V8 California that came a few years ago. The boot goes all the way down low, so you can actually have a lower loading bay, and it's actually got active aero. So this little plastic piece you see does come up at speeds, so it sort of negates the need to have a big wing at the back, but you still have active aero that helps the downforce at the back at higher speeds. Typically, dual tail lamps, as I mentioned earlier, set in really nicely. Quad exhaust at the bottom, carbon fiber here on this particular car. It is genuinely a nice and pretty car to look at. Now, moving to the sides, one of the cool features I think on this car are these sort of flattened out door handles. You have to sort of push them in, and that opens up the interiors. Okay, so as we get in, first things first, it is a 2+2. So you have 2 tiny little seats at the back, but it's best left to children or people with really, really small legs, or supermodels. That's the great place to put those there. In terms of overall design, Ferrari has taken the cockpit concept to the next level. It really feels like a cockpit. It's got these lovely partitions in the interior, nice little Ferrari enamel badge on the bottom here, and a whole different cluster layout, a whole different setup as compared to what we've seen in the past. You've got this 8.4-inch vertical, very iPad-like screen in the center. Leather, of course, everywhere. This particular car finished in a lovely, very traditional red interior and the white exterior combination. Absolutely lovely. 16-inch, big, massive digital instrument cluster here, and the new steering wheel, which has haptic controls everywhere. So you don't really need to take your hands off things. You can feel the buttons do their thing. It's all flat. You can feel the little touch sensors do their thing, so you know exactly where you are. Now, the car, of course, has a front engine V8. So let's have a quick look at that, and let's talk about that now. So this, of course, is the 3.9 litre twin turbocharged award-winning engine that we've seen in a whole bunch of cars before. The Portofino has it as 600 horsepower. This one tuned up to 620 horsepower, but this engine, of course, can do a lot more. We know this engine makes 720 horsepower in the SF90. The big other thing about this car, it gets the new 8-speed automatic that, again, has been debuted at the SF90 launch earlier this year. But 0 to 100, 3.4 seconds, top speed about 320 kilometers an hour. And this car also features, for the first time, on a front engine V8 GT car from Ferrari, the side slip control, which means that it does let you do some pretty heroic antics sideways if you do want it. 5 setups on the Manettino control on the steering wheel, which we showed you earlier. So, front engine, rear wheel drive, beautiful proportions, GT car. It is going to be priced similar to the Portofino. It's about 75 kilos lighter. It also is based on a brand new platform. In fact, it's similar to the Portofino, but it has 70% new parts. So it is a new platform is what Ferrari is saying. Now, the rumors did suggest that this is supposed to come with that V6 hybrid engine that we've been hearing about. For now, though, it's just the V8, but we hear that that V6 hybrid is coming pretty soon. Prices are going to be similar to the Portofino too. And at that price, I think this is going to take straight up with the AMG GT series from Mercedes-Benz, the Porsche 911, and of course, the Jaguar F-Type. Definitely something to look forward to in India.